Hi everybody, Arian Radman from IgnitePOST here, and today I'm going to walk through an example of how you can set up and trigger an automated handwritten card from IgnitePOST directly from an automation within Pipedrive. So for those of you that don't know, Pipedrive is a very powerful CRM system that a lot of sales and marketing teams use to basically execute their sales and marketing playbooks. And I'm going to go through right now a quick example of just showing how you can trigger one of our handwritten cards from an automation that you set up within Pipedrive. So just as an example, I'm going to do this as an automation that gets triggered from a deal pipeline that we have set up, but there's a number of different things that you can do, but I'm going to use this for demonstration purposes. So let's say that I have a pipeline set up that you see in front of you, and I want to trigger a handwritten card whenever a deal gets moved from any stage to closed won, because that means that we won the deal, we have a new customer, so we want to send them a nice pen handwritten note saying, hey, thanks so much, welcome to the practice, and we're excited to work with you. So let's dive in and see how we're going to do that. So in Pipedrive, what you do is you kind of click these three buttons down on the bottom left here in this menu and go to more, and that's where the automation section is. So you're going to go and click automations, and this brings up your automation tab. So let's go ahead and we'll start from scratch and we'll just create one, and I'll take you through an example of how to set this up. So I click to create a new automation, and the first thing it asks is, what do you want the trigger to be? So I'm going to start this as an event trigger when an event occurs. And we already know because we just mentioned what we want to do. So we said anytime we want a deal that's moved to the closed won state, we want to trigger a handwritten card. So let's start with the event trigger as deal is updated. I'm going to apply that trigger. And then, of course, we're going to go one step further into the conditions, and we're going to say when a deal stage has changed to closed won, and I'm going to apply. Great. So now, anytime a deal stage gets moved and changed to closed won, we're going to kick this automation off. So now what we want to do is we want to actually enhance the information from the deal. So in Pipedrive, deals are separate than contacts, but a lot of the fields that we want to use to trigger the handwritten cards are on the contact field. So we need to go and pull those fields in really quick before we actually trigger anything. So what I'm going to do is I clicked to add another action step. So I'm going to come in here for action, and I'm going to go down to person, and we're going to say update person fields. We're going to hit next. Okay, so now we want to pull in some specific fields. I'm going to say name and email address. But basically what happens is when we move a deal to closed won, the person that's associated with that deal, that's the information that we want to use. So we want to use their name, where they live, their address, their email, their name, all that stuff. So it says person required. So we're going to map this to the deal contact person. For the name, we want this to be the deal contact person name. And then same thing for the email. We want this the deal contact person email. Okay, just so that we have mapped some fields here, I'm going to click apply action. Okay, so now we are set up to trigger an IgnitePOST note, because now when a deal stage has changed to close won, not only do we have the deal, but we'll actually have information for the contact that that deal is connected to. So to trigger a handwritten note, we're going to actually click this plus button here. It's going to ask what kind of step you want to add. It's going to be an action step, and we're actually going to click this email step here. So we want to send an email at this point, because this is where we want to send the handwritten note. And I'll show you how to use this email to basically trigger an IgnitePOST handwritten card. So the first thing it says is action send email. What are the default fields? The default fields to email body and email subject. That's fine. We don't need to add anything else. So just hit next. All right. So the first thing it asks is, who is this going to? So what you're going to do is you're actually going to, at this point, trigger an email to come into IgnitePOST's operator bot so that we know that you would like to send a handwritten card. So in the to field right here, this should be operator@ignitepost.com. Great. And the email subject is going to be the word handwritten, all lowercase. Okay. Now the body is where you're going to pass us the information so that we know what to write in the card, who to send it to, and all of the details. What we did is we actually made it super easy, and we have a nice blog post that shows you exactly how to turn an email into a handwritten card, which is the functionality that we're using right now. If you open that blog post and scroll down to the middle section, you'll see that we have this nice template here for you to use. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to copy this entire template. And in fact, if you want to view it raw, you can do that. So you're going to copy this entire template. And that is what you're going to use in this body. Okay, now we're going to go one by one through all of these fields, and we're going to map it to the correct values. So the first thing it asks you for is your API key. So we need to get an API key from your IgnitePOST dashboard. So if you log into your IgnitePOST account and you hover over your initials in the top right-hand corner and you go down to API keys, this is where you can create an API key. So if I hit create API key, I can create a brand new one. I already have a couple of keys created, so I'm not going to create a new one. I'm going to use one of my existing ones. I'm going to use this one, the sample key. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to move over into my automations, and I'm going to replace the key with that key from my dashboard. Okay. Now it's asking me for a letter template ID. So what in the world is that? So let's jump back to the IgnitePOST dashboard. And if I go to my letter templates area, I'll see all of the letter templates that I have available. Now, a letter template is exactly what it sounds like. And IgnitePOST, that's how you can create a template, which is a set message and image that is attached to your card that you can then take and trigger and use for wherever you want. You can send IgnitePOST campaigns in bulk. You can also trigger automations like this. So I have an example template here called a welcome card, which I'm going to use. If you don't have a template, you can just hit create letter template and just create one from scratch. I'm going to save some work just so that you can go through and kind of see how this would work. But if I did want to create a template from scratch, I can hit create template. I give it a name. So this one is called the welcome card. It's a handwritten 5x7 folded card. I can type in my sender address details here, which is going to be what is included on the outside of the envelope as the return address. Remember, in the automation, you can actually overwrite any of these values, but this is an easy way for you to use the IgnitePOST card designer so that you can see what the card is going to look like. We choose the handwriting style. So we have a bunch of handwriting styles to choose from. I like Nelson, so I'm going to leave it like that. And then same thing, you can edit the message here and see what the preview would look like over on the right. So you can type that in and get a preview of what the message is going to look like. And then same thing, you can choose to grab one of the images from our existing card library. You can also upload an image if you choose to create your own image. If you're in Canva or Photoshop or something like that, you can always create an image and upload it here, and we will use it on your card. So I'm happy with that and how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and hit update. So now I have this welcome card. So now I have welcome card ID 6941. So this is the template that I want to trigger in my Pipedrive automation. So I'm going to go back to automations and I'm going to put in 6941. Perfect. For the handwriting style, I chose Nelson. If I wanted a different handwriting style, I can update that here and the system would on the fly use the new handwriting style. So if you have multiple different reps or something like that and you want each person to have their own handwriting style, you can do so and kind of change that on the fly in the automation. And now I'm also going to update the message here because I want to personalize it with the information from my CRM system here. So like I mentioned, we want to take this, we're going to copy and paste this because we use this to figure out how the card is going to be designed and look. So now I'm going to paste this in. Great. Now I want to pull in some information. So hi, first name. The first name variable lives in our CRM system. So I'm going to click this button here and I'm going to look for first name. And so I see this person first name. So I'm going to click that there. So that pulls in the person's first name. I'm also going to add a space there, and I'm going to kind of format this how I'd like it. And then same thing with my greeting here. All right, so that looks good to me. So now I have the message, hi so-and-so, excited to have you on board. But you might want to check out some of our case studies and testimonials. Have a moment, love to connect, share how we can help improve your customer experience. Thanks, Arian. All right, so my sender name, if I wanted to change this, I could just change the value in between the double square brackets. The sender name and address field is what's going to be used on the outside of the envelope in the return address area. I'm going to leave this is, but if you do want to update it, all you need to do is change the values here. For the recipient name, now obviously we want to personalize this to the name of the person going through the automation. So for the recipient name, I'm going to delete the placeholder values. I'm going to click here and I want to pull in the first and last name. So there's the first name. I'll add a space and then I'll also pull in the last name. So this will make sure that the card gets correctly addressed to the recipient's first and last name, the person that's going through the automation. And then same thing. So now we're going to fill in all these other fields with the correct fields. So for the address, so we want to use the person's address. So the way that Pipedrive kind of separates this here, you're going to kind of do it in two different stages. So we're going to do this house number first, followed by the street. All right. If there's an address too, you can put it here. For the sake of demonstration, I'm going to skip that. But we do want to put in the city. So if we search for city, we do that. We want to put in the recipient state. So if we search for state, we build that in there. And then last but not least, we want to pull in the zip. All right. And now recipient email, if you want, you can pass this in just so that you can map it and know who you're reaching out to. You don't have to, so I'll leave that blank for now. But now what I'll do is I will hit apply action. Great. So now I have this automation set up that's going to be triggered when a deal gets updated and the deal has been changed to close one. What's going to happen is we're going to look up the person field, so the person associated with that deal, and then we're going to trigger an email to the operator bot on IgnitePOST side. Because we used your API key and your letter template ID, we know what image to print on the front of the card, and we also know what to say in the card. And we've updated the correct fields to pull in the information from your CRM system in the correct areas. So if we wanted to test this out, what we can do is we can hit save. We can turn this on so it's active for me. And now what I can do is I can actually go, I'll test this out by moving over to my deals area. Move this down a little bit. Okay, so now if I move this deal to closed one and give it a moment, what's going to happen is you can see that that automation kicks into play. Automations. So I had just set up an automation, which was this new one. We can go to history and we can see that it was just started. So now if I actually look at my email address that's connected to my IgnitePOST account, I can actually see the test order preview. So we will email you an example of what the front of the card would look like, which is this front of the card that we just set up, and also what the inside of the card would look like. So this says, hi, Arian, because I set myself as the contact, as the demo contact through the automation. We're excited to have you on board. Thought you might want to check it out. Some of our recent case studies and testimonials. If you have a moment, love to connect, show you how we can help. So anyway, so this gives you a preview of exactly how everything is going to look. And what you can do is you can test this out. This email got triggered to me because we're in what's called test mode. So basically what happens is my API key on IgnitePOST is in what we call test mode. It's not live. And you can basically trigger as many calls to our API and basically trigger as many calls by sending people through that automation as you want. And the only thing that will happen is we will trigger a preview that gets sent to your email address so that you can see and adjust things. So from this, you want to look and make sure that the correct variables are getting pulled into the right spot. The spacing is correct. And so here, I probably want to go in and kind of adjust my spacing to make sure that the paragraphs are where I want them. And then once everything gets set the way I want it to be set, what I can do is I can go back and I can email support@ignitepost.com and say, hey, can you please turn my API key on? At which point we will turn your API key on live. And then you will no longer receive those test emails. Instead, when an order comes in, we will actually just write and send a handwritten card on your behalf to the correct person and to the correct recipient. So that's just a quick run through of how to set up an automation within Pipedrive to be triggered based on an action that happens and to send the information over to IgnitePost and get a handwritten card sent. So now you can take those steps and you can actually drop in a handwritten note touch point anywhere you want within an automation within Pipedrive. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to our team. Send an email to support@ignitepost.com, and we'd be happy to help you walk through and get set up and running. So hope you found this helpful, and we're excited to see what kind of automations you come up with. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.